Imagine this. You wake up on your 40th birthday. You have everything you once thought you wanted, maybe a stable career, a family, financial security. Yet something feels off. The ambitions that once drove you no longer excite you. The dreams you chased in your 20s and 30s seem distant, like they belong to another person. And suddenly the question creeps in, is this all there is? Carl Jung, one of the greatest minds in psychology, had a radical answer to this question. He believed that life doesn't truly begin until the age of 40. Not because youth is meaningless, but because everything before 40 is just preparation, a script handed to us by society, parents, and culture. But then something shifts. Around midlife, the illusions start to crack. The career you thought would bring you happiness starts feeling empty. The relationships you built may no longer fulfill you. The ambitions you once had start to feel hollow. And that's where the real journey begins. Why? Because according to Jung, the first half of life is about becoming someone in the eyes of the world. But the second half is about becoming who you were meant to be. And here's the real paradox. Many people fear aging. They think turning 40 means decline, stagnation, or even irrelevance. But Jung saw it differently. He believed that those who embrace this stage consciously, those who dare to confront their inner self, experience a transformation so profound that they feel more alive than ever before. So the real question is, are you ready for it? Because if you are, then what comes next might just change the way you see your entire life. Now let's explore why Carl Jung believed 40 is the true starting point of life, and what you need to do to unlock this transformation. So why did Carl Jung believe life truly begins at 40? To understand this, we need to look at the two halves of life that he described. The first half of life, building the persona. From birth to midlife, most people live according to external expectations. This is what Jung called the persona, the mask we wear to fit into society. As children, we seek approval from parents and authority figures. As teenagers, we conform to peer pressure, trying to fit in. As young adults, we pursue careers, relationships, and success, all while trying to prove ourselves to the world. This is the phase of becoming somebody. We accumulate degrees, wealth, recognition, whatever our culture defines as success. And while this pursuit can be fulfilling, it often comes with a hidden cost. We suppress our true selves. Jung believed that during this stage, we often ignore our deeper desires, dreams, and instincts. We push aside what doesn't fit into society's mold. But as we approach midlife, something strange happens. The crisis of the midlife awakening. Around 35 to 45, many people begin to feel an internal shift. Suddenly, the things that once mattered, money, status, appearances, start to feel less meaningful. You may start questioning everything. Is this really the life I wanted? Have I been living according to my own desires or someone else's? If I died tomorrow, would I feel fulfilled? Jung called this period the midlife transition, a psychological awakening that forces us to confront our shadow self, the hidden parts of our personality that we've ignored. Some experience this as an existential crisis. Others may try to resist it, clinging harder to their younger selves, buying expensive cars, chasing youth, or numbing themselves with distractions. But Jung warned that ignoring this awakening only leads to deeper dissatisfaction. Instead of resisting it, he urged people to embrace the transformation. Because this is where life truly begins. The shift from persona to the self. At 40, a new challenge arises, letting go of the persona we built and stepping into our true self. This is not about giving up on ambitions, but about aligning them with our inner calling. Jung believed that the second half of life is about individuation, the process of integrating our authentic desires, values, and suppressed emotions into a unified, whole self. This is where true meaning is found. It's not about chasing success, but defining what success means to you. It's not about seeking external validation, but finding inner fulfillment. It's not about holding on to youth, but embracing wisdom and depth. In other words, life doesn't end at 40, it begins. But only if you're willing to embark on this inner journey. So the question is, what path will you choose? At this point, we understand Jung's perspective. Life before 40 is about external achievement, while life after 40 is about inner fulfillment. But how do we transition from one to the other? Jung's answer lies in a profound psychological process, individuation. What is individuation? Individuation is the process of integrating all aspects of yourself, your strengths, weaknesses, desires, and fears, into a complete, whole being. Jung believed that true psychological and spiritual fulfillment comes from embracing all parts of ourselves, even the ones we've suppressed. Imagine a puzzle with missing pieces. Until all the pieces are put together, the picture remains incomplete. Individuation is about finding those missing pieces. But here's the problem. Some of those pieces are buried deep in the shadow. The shadow, the hidden self. Jung's concept of the shadow is one of his most powerful ideas. The shadow represents the unconscious parts of our personality, the traits, emotions, and instincts we've rejected because they don't align with our persona. The nice person may have an aggressive shadow. The humble person may secretly crave power. The successful person may feel deeply inadequate. These hidden aspects don't just disappear, they lurk beneath the surface, influencing our actions, emotions, and relationships in ways we don't even realize. If we don't integrate the shadow, it controls us from the dark. It appears as unexplained anger or frustration, self-sabotage, envy toward others, repeating destructive patterns in relationships, a deep sense of emptiness. Jung believed that the midlife awakening happens because the shadow demands to be acknowledged. If we don't face it, it will manifest as a crisis, depression, restlessness, or a sudden collapse of everything we built. Facing the shadow, the key to transformation. At 40, we are given a choice: ignore the shadow and live in denial, or face it and become whole. But how do we confront something we've buried for decades? Jung proposed several methods. 1. Self-reflection and radical honesty. Ask yourself, what traits do I judge most in others? What are the emotions I suppress? What patterns keep repeating in my life? What you resent in others often reveals what you've denied in yourself. If you despise arrogance, perhaps a part of you craves confidence. If you judge ambition, perhaps you've suppressed your own dreams. 2. Shadow work, a 30-day experiment. Jung recommended actively engaging with your shadow. Try this for the next 30 days. Write down every moment of frustration, anger, or judgment you experience. Ask yourself, is this really about the other person, or is it revealing something about me? Acknowledge hidden desires, fears, and emotions without shame. The goal is not to get rid of the shadow, it's to integrate it. Once you stop fearing your dark side, you can direct its energy towards something powerful. 3. Embracing contradictions, becoming the whole self. Jung's ultimate wisdom was that life is not either or, it's both and. You can be kind and strong. You can be ambitious and humble. You can embrace success without losing your soul. The second half of life is not about rejecting who you were. It's about integrating everything into a balanced, authentic whole. At 40, life is not over. It is the beginning of self-realization. But only for those brave enough to take the journey. The harsh reality of transformation. Carl Jung did not promise that individuation, the process of integrating your true self, would be easy. In fact, he warned that true transformation is painful. Why? Because it requires you to let go of the illusions that once gave you comfort. It demands that you face everything you've avoided, your deepest fears, insecurities, and contradictions. Most people aren't willing to do this, which is why so many experience a midlife crisis instead of a midlife awakening. The midlife crisis, the cost of avoidance. For those who ignore their inner calling, the years after 40 can feel like a slow descent into despair. Jung observed that many people, instead of embracing change, resist it. And when you resist the natural evolution of the self, life has a way of forcing it upon you, through external crises. Consider these classic signs of a midlife crisis. A sudden obsession with youth, trying to cling to a past version of yourself because you fear irrelevance. A deep sense of regret, feeling that you wasted years on things that no longer matter. Radical changes in behavior, impulsive decisions, reckless spending, or even affairs, all in an attempt to escape an identity that no longer feels authentic. An existential void, a creeping realization that everything you worked for doesn't bring the fulfillment you expected. Many people respond to this crisis by doubling down on external achievements. They chase success, wealth, or social validation, believing that more will finally make them happy. But Jung warns that which we do not bring to consciousness appears in our lives as fate. If you do not consciously confront your inner struggles, they will control you from the shadows, shaping your life in ways you don't understand. Why most people fail to transform. So, why do so few people experience the true awakening that Jung spoke of? Because transformation requires death before rebirth. The death of old identities. The death of illusions. The death of false security. Imagine a caterpillar resisting the cocoon stage. It desperately wants to fly, but refuses to dissolve into something new. It clings to what it knows. As a result, it never becomes a butterfly. The same happens to people. They crave transformation, but resist the temporary discomfort that comes with it. They remain trapped, never realizing their full potential. Jung referred to this as the night sea journey, a symbolic journey into darkness before emerging into the light. The journey into the unknown. Jung's path to transformation requires stepping into the unknown. This means accepting uncertainty, not knowing exactly who you will become, but trusting the process. Letting go of old roles, the perfect parent, the relentless achiever, the obedient child. These are masks, not your true self. Facing the fear of being alone. Many people fear losing relationships if they change. But the truth is, real transformation often leads to losing people who only loved the old version of you. Jung believed that stepping into your true self always comes at a cost. You may lose relationships, comfort, or certainty. But what you gain in return is something far greater: authenticity, freedom, and inner peace. The reward of true transformation. While many fear this journey, those who embrace it discover something unexpected. A newfound sense of purpose beyond external achievements. Deeper, more authentic relationships. A quiet confidence that does not rely on external validation. Jung called this the birth of the self, the version of you that is whole, integrated, and free. It is the moment you stop living for others' expectations and start living for your own truth. At 40, you stand at a crossroads. One path leads to resistance, crisis, and stagnation. The other leads to awakening, wisdom, and deep self-acceptance. The question is, which will you choose? Embracing the second half of life with purpose. Carl Jung believed that life truly begins at 40 because this is when we are finally free to become who we were meant to be. Before 40, life is largely about establishing yourself, building a career, relationships, and a sense of security. Society tells us who we should be, and we follow the script. But by midlife, cracks start to form in that script. You begin to question, was this the life I truly wanted? Have I been living for others instead of myself? If I had no external pressures, who would I become? This is where Jung's philosophy offers a radical truth. The second half of life is about self-actualization, not survival. From persona to authenticity. Jung believed that we spend the first half of life wearing a persona, a mask shaped by societal expectations. The successful professional who only measures worth by career status. The devoted parent who loses their identity in their children. The eternal people-pleaser who sacrifices their dreams to keep others happy. These roles serve a purpose in early life, but at a certain point, they become limiting. If we never step beyond them, we risk living an inauthentic life, one that lacks depth, purpose, and true fulfillment. The second half of life, Jung argued, should be about integration, bringing together all the parts of ourselves that we've ignored, suppressed, or left unexplored. The call to individuation. Jung called this process individuation, the journey of becoming a whole, fully realized self. This means breaking free from external definitions of success. True success is no longer about wealth or status. It's about living in alignment with your deepest values. Embracing your shadow self. The parts of you that were hidden, your suppressed creativity, your unspoken desires, your true voice, must now be integrated. Letting go of what no longer serves you. Friendships, routines, and beliefs that no longer align with your true self must be released. Individuation is not about rejecting responsibility, but rather about redefining what truly matters. For some, this might mean finally pursuing the creative passions they set aside. For others, it might mean leaving a career that no longer aligns with their soul. For many, it's about deepening self-awareness and learning to live with purpose. Why most people fear this transformation? If embracing the second half of life is so rewarding, why do most people avoid it? Because it requires discomfort. You must unlearn the beliefs that kept you safe. You must accept that some relationships won't survive your transformation. You must step into the unknown without a clear roadmap. And this is terrifying. Many people, faced with this choice, retreat. They cling to their persona, chase material distractions, or numb themselves with routine. They choose comfort over authenticity. Jung warns, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. In other words, if you don't actively shape your second half of life, it will shape you. the beauty of conscious living. But for those who take the leap, something extraordinary happens. You stop chasing happiness and start cultivating inner peace. You no longer need external validation because you trust yourself. You replace fear of aging with excitement for the wisdom it brings. Jung believed that midlife isn't an ending, it's an awakening. It's the moment when you finally have the freedom to become who you were always meant to be. The second half of life isn't about decline. It's about expansion. The only question is, will you embrace it? Carl Jung left us with a profound truth. The real journey of life begins when we stop running from ourselves. By the time we reach 40, we've spent decades building, proving, and striving. But if we are brave enough, this is the moment when we finally begin to understand. Life is not about seeking endless validation. It's about self-acceptance. True success is not measured in wealth or achievements. It's measured in inner peace. The purpose of aging is not to decline, it's to evolve. Jung believed that midlife is not a crisis, it's an invitation. An invitation to shed the false identities we've carried for too long. Integrate the parts of ourselves we've suppressed. Live in alignment with our deepest truths. The price of avoidance. But what happens if we ignore this call? What if we refuse to embrace this transformation? Jung warned that when we suppress our need for growth, it doesn't disappear, it turns into suffering. The corporate executive who never confronted his true desires becomes bitter, cynical, and detached. The parent who sacrificed everything for their children wakes up one day feeling empty and lost. The person who never explored their inner world becomes a prisoner of regret, haunted by what could have been. If we refuse to evolve, life forces us to face our truth in painful ways. This is why many people experience depression, anxiety, or existential dread in midlife. Their soul is calling them toward individuation, but they're too afraid to listen. The courage to transform. But there's another path. The path of those who embrace this transformation. The ones who choose to live consciously. They stop running from their past and start learning from it. They stop fearing the future and start shaping it. They stop seeking approval and start seeking meaning. These are the people who age with wisdom, depth, and purpose. What about you? If you're watching this, I want you to ask yourself, am I living in alignment with my true self? Have I been suppressing parts of myself to fit a role? What would I do differently if I truly embraced the second half of life? This is your invitation to start that journey. Your next step. Jung believed that awareness is the first step. Once you become conscious of this transformation, you can no longer ignore it. And the best part, you don't have to figure it all out at once. Here's what you can do right now. Spend 10 minutes in silence and reflect on your life's direction. Write down one suppressed desire or dream and commit to exploring it. Start questioning the beliefs that no longer serve you. Because life doesn't truly begin at 40. Life begins the moment you decide to live it fully. So, are you ready to step into your next chapter? If you've made it this far, you're not just a casual viewer. You're someone seeking truth, growth, and transformation. Now you have two choices. You can click away, forget everything you just heard, and continue living as before. Or you can take action, embrace this next chapter, and start living with intention. Hit that subscribe button if you're ready for more deep, mind-expanding content like this. Like this video to let the algorithm know you value discussions that actually matter. Comment below, what's the biggest realization you've had about your own journey? This channel isn't just about watching, it's about awakening. It's about people who refuse to sleepwalk through life.